Welcome back to Cryptolytics, giving you a fresh take on crypto analytics. And this is your crypto recap, where I cover some of the things going on in the crypto space. So let's jump in. Okay, so here we are again. It's been just over a week since I've released a video. So yeah, I just was away for a few days and I recorded a video yesterday and I had nothing but problems with it. So I just went for a 20K bike ride instead. So I'm back and I will go through some of the things that I'm seeing. And the second half of this video for the Solana recap, I actually recorded yesterday successfully, but the first half of the video is gone. So the time for the second half of the video is actually based on yesterday's date. So there's a few things that I mentioned in the second half of this video for the Solana ecosystem recap that are 1 day ahead. Anyway, just letting you know that. So let's just get straight into this so I can play catch up because I'm running behind on my release schedule. But we'll start here with the weekly chart for Bitcoin. And the main thing that I'm looking at is there's two main things I'm looking at on this chart. In terms of bullish potential is I'm looking at the stochastic to start to move up into the middle band. So generally speaking, see this green area here, that means that we're oversold. And this red area here, that means that we're overbought. And we're well and truly oversold by now and starting to slowly try to tick back up and across and then move back into this channel, this white band here, generally is a sign of trend continuation in a bull market, right? You would ignore this generally in a bear market. You could ignore this and it would be fine. Just like, you know, when things are overbought, you can kind of ignore it, except for when it does actually come back into that middle band there. You could probably take that as a potential reversal signal, as it did pretty well there. As you can see, it did pretty well there. So anyway, that's one thing I'm looking at, just looking for this. You know, we can get some false signals sometimes, like we did back in June last year, because it did go up, but it just went back down again because it was in the middle of a sort of sideways consolidation phase. That's the first thing I'm mainly looking at for the bullish catalyst, if you will, on this chart. And the thing I'm looking at as the potential bearish catalyst is we had a CVI, or pivot surge, sell signal. So this is definitely not a perfect signal, and sometimes it means nothing, but I'll show you some instances where it's happened in the past, and you can draw your own conclusions based on what you see here. But there was two that printed in April. So again, this is the weekly chart. So two printed April last year, which kind of gave us a sign of what was to come. So we did actually keep going down, but you know, if anything, we just got trapped in a range for a long period of time. I kind of wish it gave a buy signal there. That would have been nice. I think if I lowered the threshold for signals, it would have probably given me one, but it didn't. I kind of like this because it doesn't give too many signals. But you can see here, even this buy signal, this was in the bear market, admittedly, but this buy signal would have actually been not too bad, 20K, but we did keep going down. So keep that one in mind, I suppose. But yeah, you can see it picked a nice top there, and that it's on candle close generally if you were to trade it, which I'm not saying to trade it, but for me, it's just like, it kind of helps with sentiment a little bit, generally speaking. But yeah, about 58K, I think that was that. And then we got some nice buy signals here in the bull market in the last cycle, a couple nice buy signals, and then one just up the top here, which was pretty far down by the time it triggered. So that was kind of obvious. That was a nice little top there, bottom there, top there. I think you get the idea. So anyway, that's just all that is. And at the moment, you know, we're still in kind of no man's land. It is still in bullish structure. We haven't broken the 50K support. And I still think if we come down to say 52, 53K, that's still bullish because there's a big volume node right here on around 52K that would act as a very strong support. We've got the bull market support band. We've got the top of the logarithmic regression channel. So that is the regression channel that we could see. It bounced around there for ages, just stayed in there, you know, ping-ponging. It was a perfect floor there. I did not curve fit this. I did not adjust it, which is crazy that it just was kind of perfect. And it was ping-ponging around in this zone. And then when we broke out, it was pretty nice. We couldn't hold above the next lineup. And so maybe we're coming back to mean revert to that, at least maybe 55. We kind of already did come down there at least. So anyway, doesn't matter. That's fine. Let's move on from the weekly chart. There's not much more I can say about it for now because it's quite zoomed out and we're just consolidating, more so on lower time frames. So I was looking at these two scenarios and this was posted, I think, on the 9th of May. So this is pretty old now, 6 days ago. That just goes to show how little's been happening in the market though for Bitcoin. The fact that this is still relevant, we still haven't made a decision. So the first one I would say is the more bullish of the two scenarios. And we are in a range. So we are also creating an inverted head and shoulders. So that's your left shoulder there, that's your head, and that's your right shoulder there. So in terms of chart patterns, I don't really give too much to them, but I think that they're still good and people do look for them. I think you can use them in confluence with other things though. So that's why I think they're still worth noting. Like you could call this a triple top, for example, and then we've come down. But we haven't come down the amount we need to complete a triple top. But anyway, we're in a range still, deviated above it, created a solid top there. We've got wicks as a structured support all the way here, and then we sort of broke below it, and now we held it as support. And that line is at 60K right now. So, we've been watching that 60K get quite heavily defended over the last week anyway, right? So that's our bullish scenario. I think the top side target for that would be about an 80 to 90,000, or we just come back to the top of the range at around 70,000 and then continue our chop solidation for a while longer. So we'll have to see what happens there. Trend meters are still both bearish though. We've got the CVI down the bottom and the Ichimoku TK cross and 200 period moving average. I should just call it Ichimoku trend meter, but just in case it's the first time you see my videos, I kind of give a bit more detail. But anyway, those are still bearish at the moment, but we are getting a nice reset. See blue color on the stochastic heat map when we were just so heavily red and orange throughout this big move to the upside. The redder it is, the more overbought it is, and the bluer it is, it goes to very dark blue, the more oversold it is. So a nice reset after a pretty lengthened period of red. So the bearish scenario. So now the bearish scenario has a little bit of a caveat where I end this as a potential bullish continuation. But yeah, the bearish scenario I'd say is to complete the third level drop after a failed breakout of the diagonal trend line. So this is a diagonal trend line that a lot of retail traders will be looking at. I did have to move this because like all diagonal trend lines, you can redraw them 60 times before they're actually potentially relevant, which is why, again, I don't trade diagonals personally, but I do like to look at them to see what a lot of other traders are looking at. But what do I mean by 3-level drop? Well, this is a 5-wave corrective pattern, essentially, would be a 3rd level drop. And that base there would be at around 53K, which is this order block just over here, which would be pretty strong support. So that also could result in a continuation of the bull trend to the upside. And I've compressed the time here to a similar amount of time to what happened last May. So, the whole sell in May and go away thing, right? So last year, what happened in May is over the course of the month, we actually put in a lower low to the previous month. But then by the end of the month, we actually closed the month higher than the previous month. So yeah, that was sort of why the time framing of the timing I've got on this is kind of the way it is. But if we look at the live chart for this, we can see that it's kind of just consolidating sideways. And this is I've had to redraw that line, right? Because it was there and that looks super messy. So now this is the line that the line bros are looking at. Anyway, so that's its live and not much has changed since then. That's 1 whole week ago and not much has changed. And that's the live chart for the inverted head and shoulders with a few extra things on there. And that is also, it kind of looks pretty ugly, the right shoulder, but it's still, it's still kind of a head and shoulders. And the line here, this diagonal, you could almost call a breakout and retest. But, without any momentum off of the retest, doesn't really mean much, right? Breakout and retest should be like, like this, look at this strong move off the retest, but then we just kind of flop back down to the same level. That's not a convincing breakout, okay? Just so you know. Anyway, there's not much too much more to report on that front. We've also got the moving averages above, the 50-day and the 21-day above, stacked pretty close. You can see we keep wicking into both of those and then just getting rejected. An attempt to close above, just reject the next day. Or this is a 3-day chart, sorry. But you can see that these moving averages, because they're so close together, they're just acting as quite a strong resistance. But we do have a decent support down below at the 100 moving average, which is sitting at 64.42, as you can see on that little card there. And those two moving averages above are 62, 63, that area you can probably see there anyway. And another decent support down here at 57.989, I guess, or 58K. And that is the 20-week moving average, which you can see last time we tested there. It wicked straight out of there. And also the 786 on the high time frame as well. But yep, that's it, I think, for the charting of Bitcoin for now. Let's cover some macro stuff. So does anyone remember this chart? So this was circulating around at the start of the year. I remember seeing this, and it's an oscillator of QE or quantitative easing and QT environments, which is quantitative tightening. So tightening or QT, the Fed increasing interest rates, reducing their balance sheets, tightening liquidity within the system, right? And quantitative easing is, printing money and injecting liquidity into the system. And generally speaking, in a QE environment, it's quite bullish for risk assets. because fresh liquidity equals pumpermentals. So you can quite clearly see there. So this is actually the oscillator. And if you have a look at the dates down the bottom of the years, you can see that it actually lines up pretty well with our bull markets for Bitcoin in the past. So 2020, which was, obviously with the pandemic, but if it wasn't for that, I'd say we'll get to see what 2020 probably would have looked like this year, because I feel like this is the 2020 and maybe next year will be our 2021. If this plays out as the oscillator maybe suggests, as this global liquidity oscillator suggests. So you can see as at the start of the year, we did have a pretty bullish Q1 of this year and Q4 of last year. And that's this line here. So that's lining up really nicely right here. This is a bit messy, I suppose, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad. But yeah, you can see 2021 bull run. So that's 2020 there. 2019 was a little bullish as well. And, that 2021 bull run was pretty significant for us if you were around in the last cycle. And then the QT environment, quantitative tightening, where liquidity is pulled from the system. Very aggressive pullback, 2022. So this looks like it's lining up pretty well, right? It looks like it's lining up pretty well. And then the other thing to look at is this Fred M2 chart. And you can see we're just starting to poke above this you could call a MACD line, I suppose. So we can look at it on the monthly chart, right? This is the M2 money supply. So this is the printers, right? So you could see that the reaction to the pandemic, the Fed went nuts and went crazy printing, increasing the money supply by a lot, $5 trillion in a very short period of time. You can see this white line here. This is a median or mean line. So you can see if you go all the way back very, very far, we are generally tracking this line. You can see small deviations above and below it, but for the most part, we don't spend too long away from there and we mean revert, right? So when we went crazy above the line during the pandemic print, as I'm calling it, we have slowly come down. This is the last couple of years, right? So Feb 22, start of our bear market, where the Fed started rapidly increasing interest rates. You can see that we're slowly come back to the median line. And guess where we are right now? We're right on it and back on track. And liquidity is starting to enter the system again. Printers are starting to fire up. And with regards to inflation data, which is coming out tonight, but with regards to inflation data, few of the things that are super overpriced at the moment in terms of consumer price for certain items like coffee, they're actually omitting from the report. So that way they can skew the data, manipulate it in a fashion that makes it easier to justify cutting interest rates, because we are in an election year for the US, which generally the aim is to do positive things for the stock market to keep them happy, right? Keep big money happy so that the current administration can maintain their position. But at least for us in crypto, the current administration in the US is not our friends, unfortunately. And I guess we all know by now that Trump and his ilk are pivoting to being pro-crypto. But, I think he's just a farmer, as in, like, I'm a farmer. Like, I'm an airdrop farmer. I farm points and stuff for airdrops. He's a vote farmer. He just sees, I would say, some opportunity to gain new votes. So I wouldn't think too much about it, but I think at the very least, he'll probably be less hawkish, as, he has NFT collections, and even Melania has an NFT collection, I believe, on Solana. But anyway, here's our MACD down the bottom. You can see it oscillating down. You can see it quite clearly registered as a pullback after a very big move away. And you can even see we've never moved like that since they started printing in the 80s. Look at that. Never moved like that. That was very aggressive injection of liquidity in the system, right? So even the trend meters registering that we're back on the bull for liquidity. Again, more liquidity in the system means more money flowing into risk assets. And you can quite clearly see that the money printers are firing up, with Japan absolutely going bonkers here. Look at that huge spike to the upside there. China's going up. I think what China's mainly, apart from building relentlessly, also I would say that China's probably just throwing a lot of money at gold. Look at this. Because they have been offloading their treasury bonds and trying to de-dollarize, especially with the US now, talking about tariffs, and now, like, between Biden and Trump, they're like, who can give or slap bigger tariffs on China, because they're overproducing, I think was what they were saying. But anyway, so China's just like, all right, we're pivoting to gold. So I wouldn't say they're necessarily preparing for USD collapse. It's probably a little bit dramatic. I would say more so they're just trying to get away from the US dollar. But also maybe some people might see this and be like, well, if China is going this nuts into stuff like gold, then maybe US dollar isn't the flight to safety. Maybe we should buy Bitcoin ETFs instead, right? Europe seems to be going kind of sideways. US, we just saw that it's kind of ticking up. Canada's quite high as well. So money printers are definitely all firing up. Again, more liquidity, more pumpermentals. I've mentioned in a few videos now that I've been waiting for the ETFs to show up in CoinGlass, and we finally have them. And I think they did like a preload on some of these, so that's why the first day was such a big spike and why it's just been so small ever since. As in the months leading up to it, they were probably just collecting essentially, but that's why there was a huge spike of 3,900 Bitcoin inflows on day one, but it's just been this slow trickle on the days that followed. And we've actually had a few outflow days as well. It's been chopping around up and down, to be honest. Nothing too spectacular there, if I'm honest. So we'll just have to wait for maybe some bullish continuation in the market to start to see some of this flow up. I think we had 60 Bitcoin yesterday, so not huge contribution. And we can see here on the other flows, so this was the 60 Bitcoin. You can see on the other flows, we're starting to slowly tick up. So we have a look here on this image. Here is the last couple of days. We had 1.6K BTC of inflows yesterday and 1K of inflows the day before. But GBTC still remains flowing out with roughly 1,000. We actually had a day of nothing on Monday, which was really interesting. I mean, at least for GBTC and IBIT, and still inflows there. But nevertheless, the flows have been chopping sideways. If we actually have a look at the chart itself, probably be a bit easier. We're in a ranging market and the flows are ranging as well. So you can see this yellow line here is price of Bitcoin. You can see this big block of green here. This was really nice. And one of the biggest or main catalysts, I would say, for the momentum of this price move. You can see we're chopping sideways and the flows are chopping sideways too. So again, that's kind of going sideways. So nothing too interesting to report on that front, I would say. The flows are acting very much like retail traders are at the moment too. A couple of nice little green ticks there though. It's not too bad. And the Hong Kong ETF flows are very similar. Let's just emit that first one just so we can see. We had some decent green days. And then with this big outflow day of 527 Bitcoin, completely overshadowed by this one though, admittedly. I would say maybe these were some of the ones that were pre-bought here. And we got one green day, which is our 60 plus. So that's the flows covered. Now I'm going to cover arguably the most important news I guess we've had in the last couple of weeks, I would say, at least for us in the crypto market. We have the Roaring Kitty or Keith Gill back. And who is that? He was instrumental in the GameStop short squeeze. So that was a massive pump on the GameStop stock and AMC as well back in 2020, which was a precursor to our massive bull run. So he bought the GameStop stock back in 2019 and used his influence on Reddit and Twitter and YouTube in order to absolutely pump this. And it was a sort of resistance, actually. It was probably one of the, I would say, the first time that retail investors were ever able to do anything to take down the big guys, so to speak, right? So really, really cool. And his Twitter page was completely dormant ever since 2021. So there you go, dormant since 21. And the GameStop stuff started around October 20. It started really gaining a lot more traction around the start of 2021, but there was still enough traction around October 2020, right? So that's when a lot of the GameStop stocks started pumping. You quite see a clear downtrend where there was just a safe short for big hedge funds, essentially. And then you can see here, this break of structure. It was around September, October, where he really started pumping it. And then it just got absolutely out of control by around Jan 27. And it was around here where all the news was starting to report on it and talk about it, right? So what happened to us around that time? Well, this is what happened to us around that time. So November, December, January. I mean, look at Bitcoin's price, absolutely crazy. And then Doge went nuts. You know, we had a huge meme coin cycle. We had SafeMoon. That's one I managed to catch, which I think I mostly round tripped anyway. But for the most part, yeah, there was a lot of crazy meme coin stuff going on for us too. So the reason why this is important for us as well is that this could be a precursor for a massive meme cycle for us. Essentially, a couple of days ago, this is all Keith posted, or all Roaring Kitty posted on X. So it's like a picture of this guy sitting back disengaged, and then he sits forward. And that's it. That was all it took. And then a series of random almost videos posted where they're all just kind of cut together. Maybe that's what he's been doing for the last few years, just pre-making all these random video clips, which people are, I guess, reading into to a degree, as we like to do in the crypto world. We like to read all small signs. I guess you could probably link it to, you know, people when they watch Jerome Powell speak, they're like, oh, is he hawkish? Is he dovish? Oh, he did this with his eyebrows. He said this. So I think, you know, we're probably all kind of the same. We like to overanalyze all this stuff. But for the most part, look at him. He's holding a controller, I guess. GameStop controller, you know, makes sense, I suppose. But yeah, just imagine having this much power, right? You post this image, and then the next thing that happens, GameStop stock jumps like that. It actually went up 110% in the first day, and it was 174% up in the first week. And in the first hour of trading, as you can quite clearly see, when I show you the chart here, you could see it was already starting to actually move up. So he was probably buying there, and then finally when his bags were packed, that's when he probably started posting. But you'd see here, this was when the news came out, 13th of May, you can see it on the bottom, and then boom, opened up like this huge gap. Look at this gap. 50% gap on the stock market is actually insane. But that's not all. Over the last few days, 2 days, there's been 5 billion in shorts liquidated or stopped out in the last 2 days. So it's just kept continuing. It got even more intense, 1 billion to 5 billion in just a couple of days on GME and AMC. So that's proof there that this is just for sure another short squeeze. But the thing is, you know, as soon as you start to win, then the boomers turn the game off, right? So crypto's the answer. And where's the best place to play this? I would say Solana. So GameStop stock gained 110% and got halted for volatility after Roaring Kitty's post. Except Robinhood actually didn't do anything about it, which is good for them. But yeah, some stock exchanges, not Robinhood, have temporarily halted trading of GME. So there you go. So Robinhood didn't play into it, but a lot of other exchanges did, because we have a proxy on Solana, and Solana is where most of the meme coin trading is taking place these days. If you look at all the on-chain metrics, it's quite clear to see. There's a GME meme coin on Solana, which you could say is a proxy bet of the main GME, and it was up 1,000% on the day after the post. Actually, it went up 2,300% on the day after I posted this. As I said, after a tweet on a 3-year dormant account. And yeah, GME stock was actually up 176% in the week. So I just did that looking at the chart of the meme coin there. But also with regards to the videos, you know, I've been taking some screenshots, and you know, I think other people are doing something similar where they're saying, you know, oh, look at these, look what we're saying in some of these videos. Maybe we can read between the lines a little bit here. But yeah, there was a cat in his video, which he's called the Roaring Kitty, so quite clearly that's probably why. But there is a thesis going around that the next main meme season will be cat season, and I think cat season will probably get dragged up. I think it will be a lot of GME stuff as well, and anything related to GameStop or AMC, I would say, would probably go up as well. But I think that cat season is definitely one that'll get pulled up with this, and maybe, you know, people will read into this and see this cycle as the cat cycle. And we're already seeing it with like PopCat and even Michi going up like crazy and stuff like that. And there's the cats to a billion sort of race as well that's going on. So that's something to think about as well, I suppose, if you like to play the meme coin market. Another thing I saw was actually the Ethereum logo in one of the videos, what looked like the Ethereum logo anyway. I was like, maybe that's going to be a short squeeze on Ethereum next. I don't know. Maybe that's why Pepe has been going so crazy. So Pepe, I did a post, and this again was on the 13th, and I was saying it's only 12% from its all-time high. Well, in fact, it broke its all-time high by, I think it's about 4.5%. Okay, it was 4.5% yesterday when I recorded my video. Now it's broken it by 7.3%. So there you go. I'm actually in a long here after this little fake out that thankfully I cut about halfway manually. It's a bot. This is just a trading bot. But look at that. Pepe is trying to push its all-time high again. And I think Pepe is kind of like the main meme coin on Ethereum now, I would say. But at the very least, maybe we'll get a short squeeze on Ethereum. I'm not really sure, but we'll have to see. Again, depends on how much you want to look into these videos. But, you know, this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. That's Dirty Harry, I think. And then it goes into the Avengers, I believe. And I think there's your Ethereum logo. Anyway, there's tons of these videos coming out. I haven't watched all of them, but I don't know. Maybe some people will be reading into some of this stuff a little bit. And also Wall Street Bets' account is back online. And, well, I mean, I think they've been tweeting constantly for a while. But look at that. They mentioned Solana. So Wall Street Bets is mentioning Solana. I think things might be heating up. So this is Solana summer party. Actually, it's pretty crazy, to be honest. So, I mean, we've already got plenty of attention on us, but there's some more attention on Solana as well, right? And while we're talking about meme coins and stuff, I might as well mention that VanEck, and this is before that post. This was on November 9. So this is before all of this stuff. VanEck actually introduced a Memecoin Index, and they caution the customers that it's for entertainment value, or it's an entertainment-centric nature, I suppose you could say. But these guys are institutional And so maybe this will give institutional investors something to look at to see, wow, this is what all these crypto degens are doing. Look at this craziness. And then they can see the outsized gains that we get over here, I suppose. And I suppose they could just, if they wanted to ape into meme coins, they can do it now through VanEck. So that's pretty interesting. Another thing I saw that I thought was pretty funny is that someone passed the BlackRock wallet through Tornado Cash. So now it's forced the metadata to now label BlackRock's $17 billion bag as a Tornado Cash recipient. I love crypto degens. So funny. All right, let's get on to the Solana ecosystem update. Now, this is a new thing that I'm adding to this chunk of the video since I get to record it again. Fun times. Now, I saw this. Is this a trend? Maybe it is. So for the first time ever, on the 12th of May, Solana generated more total economic value than Ethereum in a single day. Remember, Ethereum now is trying to get most of its value from the L2s. So the number of transactions happening on the L1 is significantly less. So you can quite clearly see that that's coming down more and more and more as everything's moving to L2s and even L3s in some cases. But Solana is cheap, but it's just the sheer number of transactions going through the chain that is causing the revenue to spike up. And we could see that on this day, Solana was about 2.2 million and Ethereum was 1.977 million. But we can see many other metrics that have shown that Solana is completely outpacing DEX volume and number of transactions, daily active wallets, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. Sure, you've heard it all before. So anyway, I just thought I would point that one out and move on. And the other thing as well is the Solana dominance chart, which is the percentage Solana's market cap takes up in the overall total crypto market cap. So that's how much money is in crypto. This is a dominance chart showing how much of that money is in Solana. And its all-time high was 3.66%, which was at the start of this year. Actually, this was in March when we had that big peak. And it's holding a parabolic line. So look at that. It's looking pretty nice. This is actually on the 7th of May though. So this is quite a while ago now, but it's still holding the parabolic line. Nevertheless, so Solana's actually doing all right. It's actually up 676% from the lows. And that was the FTX collapse there, where it was taking up 0.39% of the total market cap. That's a huge sell-off from 0.39 to 3%. That's just, yeah, wow. You can see sentiment's definitely shifted. And yeah, I guess FTX is completely in the rear mirror now, that's for sure. Now, I did cover this yesterday, but I gotta cover it again. But there was a 2x points boost on 2 LSTs on Sanctum. And that was if you answered the Quest 2. That was the one that happened yesterday. And there's one happening this Friday. So the one for Monday was for Bonksol or Bonksy. And the other one was for Strongsol, I believe, which was Strongsy. And I swapped a bunch of my INF into Bonksol for this to get the 2x points boost. And also on the weekend, we also had a 4x points boost. And the answer for Quest 3, which is the one to get the 2x points boost on Juicy Soul, or Juicy is the name of the pet, as they call it. That's taking place on Friday. You need Gloam Tide for Quest 3 as your answer. So I would say spoiler alert on that, but I'm terrible at riddles personally. It's definitely not my strong suit. So if you just want the answers, I will be posting them as I find them on the internet out there on the Twitter space. So if you want the answers when the next quest comes up, as soon as I find them, I'll repost them and share them for you. That way you can put them in there because you did get a points boost. And remember, points equates to bigger airdrop. This is a linear airdrop. So it's definitely worth doing this. Now, with regards to swapping the LSTs within the Sanctum ecosystem, because I was trying to do it there, I couldn't do it for some reason. I couldn't do it within their ecosystem, so I just did it within Jupiter. I did have to use Jupiter to swap because there wasn't a pathway directly between the two. But anyway, if it doesn't work, then that's fine because that's still points for the next Jupiter airdrop, right? So not so bad, not so bad. But anyway, if you haven't done these yet, then they're your answers and go put them in. So that way, you know, if you didn't get today's XP boost, then you'll get the one that's coming up on Friday. And the one up on Friday is for Juicy Souls. So you can see here, 2x multiplier on your Juicy for one day. That's the one that's coming up there. And this one, it just said 2, but it was announced that it was those 2 there. So that's it for quests 2 and 3. And as I said here, if you want to play this game like a real farmer, you'll swap all your LSTs to INF while the multiplier is 4x over the weekend. There was a 4x points boost over the weekend, and I think I took advantage of that. I also bought more Sol over the weekend as well. So maybe it seems a bit overkill, but that's what I did. So, I mean, Sanctum Wonderland is a gamified point scheme. So, you know, it keeps things fresh and it it encourages that. So I figured, why not? Looking at some of the growth metrics on Sanctum, actually, you can see that Wonderland has actually been pretty good. So ever since Wonderland was announced on the 30th of April, measured to the 9th of May, so just over a week, 36% growth. And it's even higher than that now. And that's in Sol staked, not in dollars staked, but in Sol staked or deposited in the protocol. So it's been pretty successful. And I think people are just farming it like crazy. I'm really trying to get into the top 1,000, but I think I lost a few positions today, probably because I didn't convert enough of my INF or Jupe Sol over to Bonk Sol for today's 2x point boost, but that's all right. I don't mind because, you know, I had to swap on Jupiter and it's like 0.3 or 0.5% slippage. And if you're swapping like a few hundred Sol, that adds up if you're swapping back and forth. So I was like, yeah, that's all right. I don't mind. I'll just let it slide. But anyway, nice growth there. And also, if you are an OG, you may have seen Socian Sol before. So Socian was a farm that I was doing. I was doing the SCN Sol and Sol LP back on Saber, and I was also using it on Quarry. If anyone remembers Quarry, it was like a Minecraft gamified liquidity pool farming front end where it had a whole bunch of different LPs and you could just sort of manage them all within the one place. Well, I remember farming this one in Quarry, which is why I took a screenshot. I was like, I remember this from back in the day. And yeah, so actually Socian Sol is now Sanctum. So there you go. These guys are a true battle-hardened team, and they're definitely OGs within the ecosystem. But also, you know, I was just having a think about this. I mean, the DeFi meta has shifted so many times since then. So we had farm and dump tokens where you just farm these sort of tokens with no real utility. I mean, the governance tokens, but there was no real use to hold onto them. So, you know, you could try and compound up, or a lot of the time people would just farm them and dump them on the market. So the price would just go down more and more and more. And then we had the real yield narrative where you farm like real tokens and, you know, stuff that you would actually want to hold on to. And now we just farm points for airdrops. So it's really interesting to see the evolution of DeFi, right? The DeFi reward structure has definitely changed a lot, and a few times by now. Also, Sanctum is doing a campaign, a little bit of a competition, if you will. So if you're a creative and you think you can do something with their mascot, they've got a competition going on at the moment. So, I mean, you could see if AI could do something to this. But otherwise, if you're good at this stuff, then you could come over to their site. This is actually just one of the developers' personal pages, but they did share it on their normal page as well. So you can probably get all the information off there. But I just thought I'd allude to that. That's something they've got on the go at the moment now too. Now, this is something that I think is worth noting. There's nothing confirmed yet, but there is a chance that using Sanctum will earn you Switchboard orbs, which will be a potential airdrop in the future. So swaps, or even just holding LSTs within the Sanctum ecosystem. Now, you can't swap everything from one LST to another. At least last time I tried to do it, or yesterday, it didn't work for me. Going from Jupe Sol to Bonk Sol didn't work. I had to use Jupiter, as I mentioned before. But we're starting to see more dApps within the Solana ecosystem start to use Switchboard instead of Pyth. Maybe because Pyth is overloaded, maybe price feeds get stale too often. So one of the reasons why MarginFi moved, for example, is their LST, their Solana LST, had a massive depeg and caused huge liquidations within their ecosystem. And they had to refund a bunch of people as a result of it. So they switched to Switchboard. They actually were using Switchboard for some things as well, but I think they've gone completely all in on Switchboard. It's one to keep an eye out on because I don't think this is one that I've seen anyone talk about yet. And I haven't actually seen any threads on it either. So again, yes, Switchboard is a oracle akin to Pyth, and the Pyth chart looks pretty bad at the moment. It's just like a big upside down U right now, probably because there's a big token unlock coming, so people are pre-selling that. But these are the partners to use. And again, these guys don't have a token yet, so it's always worth doing this. But I mean, you're probably already using most of these anyway, right? So MarginFi, if you use MarginFi, might be getting orbs from that. So Sanctum, so that would be using their swap within Sanctum or holding the LSTs. I don't know if just holding the LSTs is enough, but at least the swap's within there, hopefully. So we've got Lulo, also known as Flexland, covered that many, many times in the past. Guessing just using it, so depositing into the protocol, etc. And we've got Camino, which is, I would say, probably still one of the most used dApps on Solana, I would say. Solend, another money market, similar to Camino, also using it now too. And Mango uses Switchboard as well now. So with regards to Mango, even if you don't want to use their perps, you can actually just use the JLP boost, for example. So JLP, I'm sure you've seen it before. It's the Jupiter liquidity pool token, and it just goes up. It's got the up only effect. So it's essentially like, you know, say it's like started as $1 roughly. Like we could say it started off as USDC, and this is the yield being rebased into the token price, akin to the LSTs, right? So you could just use the yield boost, which takes out a borrow position and uses that to then buy more JLP, and then it puts it back in. So it kind of winds itself up. So that would be one thing you could use, hopefully, to get more orbs. But on the actual docs, this is what they're saying. There are multiple ways to collect orbs. So be an active member of the Switchboard community, join the conversation in Discord, so on and so forth, create art, memes, all that sort of stuff, help other people out, interact with one of the orb partners, which is this list that I've just listed now. So anyway, that's something to keep your eye on. I first saw this in the airdrop checker, airdrop.link, and I was like, what is Switchboard? And I looked into it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I thought I recognized it. We don't have much information on the airdrop or anything like that. More information will come soon, but go find them. If you use Twitter, go give them a follow so you can keep up to date with that, because remember that the Pith airdrop was actually pretty decent, so we might get something all right from this one too, so we'll have to see. Next up, we've got the Jupiter LFG round 3. So this is the vote for the next token to be launched on the launchpad on Jupiter. And remember, as part of the ASR or Active Staking Rewards program, you've got to vote every time there is a vote. And if it's got nothing to do with, say, a launchpad, and it's something like the budget for the team, like the last one was, in those cases, you could just abstain if you don't want to say yes or no. In this case, you would pick one of these 3 candidates. So you got DeBridge, which is a swap bridge, so as in it can bridge and swap at the same time, which is also an airdrop farm right now. So if you just use this, you will get points for the airdrop. We've got DiviBet, which is a frictionless betting experience powered by Solana. It's BetFi or GambleFi, if you will. Not really my thing, but maybe you like it, so go check it out if that sounds good to you. And Exchange Art, which is one that I remember seeing a couple of years ago when I was looking at making a NFT collection. So I didn't realize they didn't have a token yet. So there you go. If that's something that's interesting to you. I think DeBridge will win just because it's got the most attention. More people know about it. So I think it's probably the one that will get the vote. That's kind of just how this stuff works a lot of the time. But it's also probably the most used of the 3 as well. Because, with DeBridge, it's kind of cool. You can go straight from Sol and you can buy, say, Bald, which is a meme coin, on Base, which is Coinbase's L2 for Ethereum. So, but you can see here, it doesn't have the stuff that I often use because I prefer to kind of bridge to obscure chains like Sui, Ton, Injective, and a whole bunch of other random chains as well. So less active on the rest of the chains in the list here, to be honest. But anyway, it's still pretty cool. The fact that it can bridge and swap seamlessly, very similar to Maya and Swap, but they also have a very limited list. It looks like kind of the same list though, almost. But yeah, I don't think they have a token either, but they're powered by Wormhole, so nothing special there. I think DeBridge actually have their own bridge infrastructure in place, so their own liquidity and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, go and cast your vote so you can maybe get an airdrop for it later, because that's something that happens with the ASR program as well, is we get airdrops and about 25% of the fee revenue for the actual launchpad as part of the active staking rewards bonus on Jupiter. That'll be next week, I'm pretty sure. So the next thing to cover is Drift. So we've got the Drift airdrop coming in just a couple of days' time. The eligibility checker is live and the airdrop will take place on the 16th. And remember, if you claim immediately, you'll get half your tokens. But if the price falls more than 50% and you wanted to sell immediately, then you might be better off than if you just waited the 6 hours and then you claim to get the double allocation. Or maybe it'll be about the same, who knows? But this is kind of like a bot prevention mechanism, or that's the hope anyway. So I think with this one, I'm going to sit back and just see what happens with it. I don't think I'm going to game this one like I did the Camino one, where I basically claimed my airdrop, sold it, and then rebought it back to get 40% more tokens. I think I'm just going to leave this and see how it plays out. You can't actually do any, apart from Whales Market, you can't do any pre-market trading of this. So you can't do like, say like you did with Tensor. If you traded or shorted the pre-market price for Tensor or Wormhole, for example, you would have done very, very well for yourself. But Drift didn't launch their own coin on the pre-market trading, which I think is pretty smart because they don't want people just to short their coin because they literally run a perps exchange. So they're like, oh, we'll keep the Degens away from us. So yeah, we'll have to see how this goes. So that's launching on the 16th of May. And go and check your eligibility. And they did recently change some of the allocations to prevent Sybil airdrop farmers. But yeah, I think I got like 30 less tokens for some reason, even though I don't Sybil farm, but whatever. I just have 2 accounts on Drift. One actually ended up getting 20 tokens more and one ended up getting like 100 less. Something weird like that. I don't know why. But anyway, whatever, doesn't matter. Let's see how this goes. That's coming up in a couple of days' time. Also, while we're talking about perp dexes, we got GMX opening up a Solana-based GMX, or at least integrating Sol. So it's called GM Sol, I believe. And that's pretty cool because this is one of the biggest perps exchanges or decentralized perps exchanges out there, currently using Arbitrum and Avalanche, I believe. And again, more buybacks for their token, which is what part of the token utility. And they have 50 assets to trade on launch and many more to come, which is pretty impressive. So I thought that was something worth mentioning. Also, if you've been farming grass, which is like bandwidth sharing, similar to Uprock, in their FAQ, you can read that it says, how will I receive my rewards? It says your rewards from grass will be seamlessly credited to your account. We are currently considering diverse payment options, including cryptocurrencies, gift cards, and PayPal. Stay tuned for updates. Hang on, where's the airdrop? You know what I mean? I think that's what everyone's talking about. Where's the grass token? There's no mention of it, right? So if you've been farming grass, are you being farmed instead? Who knows? And yes, I have been farming grass. And it's I actually haven't shilled my reflink at all for it. It's just something I've been doing on the DL, but I think that this one, I'm not so sure. Let's see how it plays out, but no mention of a grass token. So that's kind of interesting. Has everyone just been farming this for no reason? Remains to be seen, right? Remains to be seen. Also, if you have a Solana Saga 2 pre-order and you use your wallet a lot that you used for the pre-order, then you might be eligible for a Honeyland NFT drop. Now, they're looking at the top 30,000 most active wallets in the pre-ordered Solana Mobile Chapter 2 pool, if you will. So you have to be very active. I actually set up a dormant wallet for mine so I could keep track of all the airdrops, so I could see how much the phone was actually worth when it dropped. So I won't be eligible for this, but maybe you will be. And if you are, then you'll get a badge and 250 points in the Honeyland airdrop. So it's pretty cool. And Honeyland is a game on Solana. So if this interests you, then come and check it out. Okay, let's get into some Memecoin stuff. Now, I already did touch on some Memecoin stuff before when talking about the Roaring Kitty, but let's look at Michi. So Michi's been doing really well. So it actually put in a new all-time high yesterday, even though the market's been kind of pulling back a bit. So it actually put in a new all-time high, which is pretty cool. Almost reached the $300 million mark. What I see in this post though is study price action and you would have nailed every dip on Michi. Look, it just does the same thing every time. I mean, the mold will be broken eventually, but we get a break of structure, we make a new high, we come down to test the previous high, and then we move up, and then we start to come down or range sideways, and then we test the previous high, and then we move up. So this is a dip you would have nailed, and this is a dip you would have nailed, and this is a dip you would have nailed. So it's pretty interesting to see how the price action works on Michi. Michi is, and as it looks now, it looks like it is sort of consolidating a bit. So looks like a bit of a range, I would say. But anyway, I like Michi. I think it's cool. Infinitely memeable, which is, I think, one of the strengths for it, is that anyone can contribute in the community to make a new Michi, right? So that people put little outfits on this little standing cat. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why it is as big as it is because anyone can contribute to it. But, you know, there's coins like Maneki, for example, which I think the community contributions to Maneki are quite limited because, have a look, like, this is the art for it, right? So unless you know how to draw exactly like this, it's going to be very hard for you to make contributions to it. But in terms of the actual team, well, they're pushing like crazy. So they airdropped about $20 million worth to all Solana mobile holders. They've got about 90,000 unique on-chain users. I showed those billboards, the ones in Hong Kong and the one in New York. Didn't realize there was one for Sol too. They got up to a $250 million market cap, listed on many exchanges. I'm quite surprised with how much these guys are pushing. They've got a new mini anime series in the works, which is really cool. They just registered their trademark, so they're a brand now, which is really cool. They've got manga as well, surprise awaits in Maneki manga chapter 1. So these guys are really pushing. I've got faith in this. I don't know if it's wasted, but I think these guys are really pushing quite hard. And I'm pretty impressed. Sol Media is who they partnered with for their video series. So it's just Sol Media Tech on X if you want to go and grab the link so you can go and check that out. Also, I'm sure they'll just post them on their X anyway. And here's the global trademark for their brand. So that's pretty cool. And I've been catching knives on Maneki, that's for sure. Look at this. I've got a DCA turned on, so every day at 7 p.m. at least my time, it's been buying. So there you go. So I've initially bought, not at the top here, but around this candle, went up, was like, well, that's pretty cool. And now I've just been catching knives on the way down. So, but I don't know if this will play out. We'll have to see. Doesn't look amazing right now, if I'm honest, but you can see this is the trend to break. So if we break out of this trend and hold above it, so I would say probably just above, just above 80 cents, if we can hold above 80 cents, which we haven't, we just got rejected. But this is a linear regression channel. Then I would say that's a break of the structure here, and then we might start to see a bit of a recovery, but we'll have to see. We just have to wait for the selling pressure to wear off. But this kind of looks like a base is being formed. But also we might just drag out sideways. And then when all interest is lost, then maybe we get like a bit of a meme pump, and then this thing just takes off. So we'll have to see what happens, that's for sure. But I have faith in it, and I think it's really, really cool. So that DCA, I think, will finish at some point next week. So I'll be in, and I'll just be waiting on the sidelines to see what comes next. There's an L3 that's built on top of base called Degen that was down for, well, this post said 17 hours. It was about 20 hours, I think it was paused for. So that was pretty random. I didn't really hear many people talk about that. And also, as far as Metamask goes, look at this. USDT was actually up 400% on Metamask. That's pretty crazy. What is that all about? I actually saw there's something similar a couple of weeks ago. I've got a bit of MNT sitting in my wallet, about 484.26. Said that's worth $22 or $23. I think MNT is around $1.05. So, Metamask. This is why I really like Phantom on Solana, but I kind of say Metamask as like a Linux or like a Windows, where it works on many, many different chains, right? So it's not as well optimized. Whereas your Phantom, for example, is very, very well optimized for Solana. So that's why it works, I think, a lot better, because it's not trying to do as much. But anyway, I just think it was kind of funny. Metamask is still, I would say they're the biggest Web3 wallet, but I reckon Phantom is very quickly looking to take that crown. We'll have to see, obviously, but you can use Phantom for a couple of other EVM chains and stuff like that, like Ethernet, but I think most people would just use Metamask most of the time for that. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny. Also, if you are a on-chain holder of DOT, then you may qualify for this airdrop, which is DOT-is-dead.io. It's a meme coin on DOT. So snapshot's already taken. If you have DOT, which I do not, but I have friends that do, my DOT is on an exchange. So I have some, but it's on an exchange. So I wouldn't have qualified for this. But again, if you are and you have some on chain, then why not go check it out? Also, a new project I wanted to cover is Blokkplay. Now, I don't talk much about GameFi, as in crypto gaming. Every now and then I cover it, but I think that it's quite hard for gaming projects on blockchains to keep people sticky through a bear market, because when you're going through a bear market, you know, the token's just going down more and more and more. And then developers kind of run out of steam. They run out of money, right? Because everyone's just dumping their token, and I don't know. I think there's a bit of a dilemma there with regards to crypto gaming. And also some of the mechanisms for owning tokens in the games can be really difficult. So what these guys are going to do is they want to integrate with like the trophy systems and also play to earn. So trophy systems, active, non-idle game time, and things like this. And you can just play AAA titles or some of your favorite titles and earn crypto with it. So if you're a gamer, like, why wouldn't you just use this anyway, right? Like, what's the harm? It's pretty cool. So, you know, they've got Fortnite, Rocket League. These are the optimized games, and there'll be more entering the list soon. But I think this is really, really cool. Essentially, if you're a Rocket League player, I think even, for example, esports teams could probably use this as another way to earn more while they play in tournaments and stuff, or even while they're playing at home. I think it's a really, really cool concept. I don't think we've seen anything like this pulled off at all. I've actually never seen anything like this at all. So this is a really, really, really cool concept, I think. And right now they have a Zealy quest running. So you can go through and answer the questions. They just basically want to know what kind of games you're into and your level of understanding of crypto. And if you watch my show, then, well, quite clearly it's probably intermediate to advanced. But even if it's not, it's fine. You can still participate. And you can also win some USDT, which is kind of cool. And 5 random winners will actually also get 20 each as well. So, I mean, this is pretty cool. And it's definitely a project to watch. So if you like the idea of playing normal AAA games that you would play anyway, but earning crypto at the same time, then this is definitely one to watch. They'll be building out a DeFi backend and doing all this really, really, really cool stuff. So I highly recommend you go and check these guys out. Maybe give them a follow over on X, and maybe that's what he was looking at. Maybe that's what he was looking at. So anyway, I'm pretty bullish on Blokkplay. I reckon this is going to be a huge project. So yeah, all you have to do is answer a few questions and that's it. You can go into the running to win some USDT. So anyway, that's enough for today's video. I'll keep it a little shorter. I had a few more things I wanted to cover, but I guess this is the second time recording, so I'll probably just put them aside and cover them on my next video. So if you like the video, then please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. Go follow me on X if you want all of this alpha in real time before I can do a long form video on it. And I will see you on the next one. Keep safe out there. This is Cryptolytics signing out. Have a good one.